Alright, so I don't think there's been a proper in-depth iceberg video on Foxhole before, which is crazy since the game has been available since 2017. But I decided to take a stab at making one and ask my Discord for some ideas to throw into this video. Because Foxhole has been around for almost a decade, there's a lot of stuff that I can include in this video and have it be over an hour in length. But if there's anything you think should be included in the iceberg, make sure to leave it down in the comment section below. Before we get into the video, I've divided this up into 4 sections with a unique theme in each one. At the top of the iceberg, section 1 is titled Milquetoast Memes. This is where you can find all your generic Foxhole information. Just about every Foxhole player will know what each of these topics are, but there may be some that you new players will discover for the first time. The next section below the top of the iceberg is content creator controversies. Foxhole is filled with in-game drama, but sometimes it's the content creators themselves that land in hot water. These controversies involving content creators are so ingrained in the minds of Foxhole players, they're almost always mentioned in world chat on a daily basis. Towards the bottom of the iceberg, we have section 3, which is titled Shocking Stories. These are impactful and truly lore-creating stories to the Foxhole cinematic universe. Most of you newer players likely have never heard of any of these stories, but make sure you have your popcorn ready because some of these stories were so crazy and impactful, news outlets ended up writing about them. And at the bottom of the iceberg, we have the final section, Banned and Based. This is where you'll find the niche and lesser known topics known by Foxhole players. I'll admit right now, some of it is cursed as fuck, so proceed with caution during this section of the video. And with that, let's dive straight into the iceberg. Starting off with the milquetoast memes, we have 07. This is just a funny salute emote, and it's a universal sign within Foxhole. Yep, that's it. It basically just looks like a guy saluting. Next, we have F in the chat. So if you ever see F spammed in world chat and you're wondering what the fuck is going on, well, when a point on the map is lost or gained, members of your faction will post F in the world chat, and this is to boost morale and also honor the fallen who have given their lives fighting. Next on our list, we have MPF, which stands for Mass Production Facility. It's honestly shocking, but there's a lot of players that don't know what the acronyms in Foxhole are. There's plenty of acronym-focused videos out there that you can check out on YouTube, but MPF is essential for all you Logi players. It's usually found in backland hexes where major Logi towns will have one of these buildings available for players to make a maximum of 9 crates of anything they choose to make. There are some limitations, like you can't make shirts and some other equipment as well, but if you're looking to make a bunch of guns, ammo, you can do that within the mass production facility. Next, for all you facility-focused players, we have C-mats, B-mats, ass-mats, and the like. Basically, for all you new players that are confused with facility building, an ass-mat, and no, it's not a BBL acronym, an ass-mat stands for Assembly Materials, which comes in 5 different forms. As you progress to ass-mat 5, the cost grows and includes more materials in the recipe. There are also other materials made at facilities like C-mats, also known as construction materials, and MSUPs, which are material supplies. And of course, you've got B-mats and E-mats, which aren't necessarily made at facilities, but those stand for basic materials and explosive materials. There's a whole bunch more to cover with facilities, which I plan on covering in the next new player beginner guide. So if you press the numbers on your keyboard, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc., there are a bunch of different emotes that you can use within the game. This is mainly used for RP purposes and photo ops. Next is F8 and F12. F8 hides your UI, so if you wanted to get a cinematic view or cinematic capture of whatever you're looking at in Foxhole, pressing that once will hide the UI. You'll still see the usernames of every player, and then if you press it again, that will hide all the usernames as well. It's great for taking pictures, which you can do by pressing F12. Next, we have the scroll wheel zoom. This is actually really helpful for you tank drivers out there, but also if you're trying to make thumbnails and you want to zoom in on an image, then you can press Control and mouse wheel, and that'll zoom into the world. If you do the same thing in reverse, you'll be able to go back to your typical view model. Next, we have the hub-based discords for both the Colonial and Warden factions. Now, both of these discords operate the same. They're a place for players to organize and coordinate pushes and also share intel, but the Colonials have the Sigil discord where they are able to do this, and the Wardens have the Warden Unity hub, and they both have the same capabilities, although maybe they're set up slightly differently. And next on the iceberg, you guys, we have the one and only Grond. This is a Railstorm cannon and a living legend in the Foxhole lore. Anytime a Railstorm cannon enters a hex, expect to hear the chants of Grond ring through the region chat. This next one is a bit spicy, you guys, but we've got Charlie Shard versus Able Shard. So believe it or not, there are oftentimes 2 or more shards in Foxhole. There's also a Baker Shard, which is actually how I first got into Foxhole, but that one isn't usually utilized unless we have a huge increase of players in the game. And when it comes to Charlie Shard and Able Shard, there's been a feud between these 2 shards for some time now. Charlie Shard players are fiercely loyal, with some players only choosing to play Foxhole when Charlie or Baker Shard are enabled. Meanwhile, Able Shard players demand that all the other shards remain closed, and that only one should continue to exist so that players don't divide themselves. Which is kind of an ironic take, considering factionalism runs rampant in Foxhole. But regardless, both shards have their place. One is meant to be friendly to beginners and offers players a chance to experiment and learn the game without getting dunked on by sweats. And the other shard is where the real wars are tallied and most of the long-standing players or regiments choose to play. But whether you're a Charlie or Able Shard player, there's a place for both in Foxhole, and eventually, given enough time, we'll find ourselves once again back to one shard. Alright, and that's it for the first section of the iceberg. Next, we dive into the content creator controversies. And for this, we're starting off with the one and only Badman Larry.
Little fucking goon! Fucking shred! Get shredded, motherfucker! One
of the most infamous content creators to be associated with Foxhole, he's considered the godfather amongst streamers, the Lisan al-Gaib by some, and the spawn of Satan by many others. Badman Larry has ascended to meme tier status within the Foxhole community for his high energy and aggressive personality. I can make a whole video dedicated to this man, and if that's something you're interested in seeing, please let me know down in the comment section below. But the main controversy that's associated with Badman Larry was his toxic nature, at times calling new players alts and bullying them.
Make sure you guys are putting that it's 82 DK intentional team killing or alt intentional team killing. Do you guys really think they're not alts? Does anybody question here that those are alt? Those are not alts. What's up, guys? Hey, do any of you guys got a mic by chance?
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Nice brand new accounts, guys.
Yeah, no, that was the team kill, my guy.
You guys just buy the game?
No, I've had you for a while.
You guys just get new Steam accounts?
What do you want?
It's kind of weird. Garlic, Hero Cheeto, and Colby Dale, you guys all got brand new Steam accounts.
Yeah, no, I've had the game for a while. They just bought this shit.
You guys make brand new Steam accounts too for the Foxhole?
I don't have a brand new Steam account.
No, those two just bought the game yesterday.
Dude, you're a really bad liar, bro. Why don't you tell Shiv
Dude,
to? Why don't you tell Shiv and the 82 dumb kids to play Foxhole on their own screen for once?
It got so bad that the devs themselves issued a permanent ban against Larry, forever banishing him to the Shadow Realm. Today, you can still find Badman Larry streaming on Twitch playing EVE Online. But whether you love the guy or hate his guts, you can't deny that Badman Larry is one of the most entertaining creators in Foxhole history. Our next content creator truly is the Voldemort for the Colonial faction.
We do not speak his name.
And for those of you that don't know, I'm talking about the one and only Moydog. Coming from the world of Arma and Squad, Moydog saw the potential Foxhole had and the style of gameplay that resonated with his fanbase and dove headfirst into the game. He founded the regiment Spud for the Warden faction and would lead them into glorious battle, oftentimes making huge impacts on the state of the wars he and the Spuds fought in. But when it comes to controversies, Moydog would soon earn the name Soydog from many in the Foxhole community.
Come me, I would like 2 or 3 people together and put
Just flank, bro! Alright, yo, color gang going around Lockmore! Oh my god, if one more person tells me to just flank, bro, I'm gonna lose my mind! Now we're being artilleried? Do you see this? Do you see how much of a joke you look? You've got to be kidding me!
Guys, oh my god.
Guys, there's 18 people here at one guy! Come on! Literally! Come on, guys! Are you actually serious right now? This is happening! Come on! There we go, please! For the love of God, jump on the weapon, get it back to the bridge! For real, people!
Personally, I can understand and even agree with some of the frustration that he's sharing, but a lot of Moydog's troubles come down to not what he's saying, but how he's saying it. And unfortunately for the Spudman himself, his words and antics would forever catapult him to meme status. On a personal note though, I did run into him a few times when I first got into Foxhole, and he seemed like a totally chill dude. Loved playing with him, and super knowledgeable. Helping Hans is considered one of the largest streamers in Foxhole. But not only is he one of the largest content creators in Foxhole, Hans is extremely knowledgeable about the game itself. He's an expert leader who takes charge of tank lines and infantry alike. After the loss of Larry, Shred welcomed Hans with open arms. They are a formidable force for the Colonial faction. But even Hans himself can't escape controversy.
So this is what I'm talking about. They want to build a fucking bus when the enemy are bearing down upon us. They want to build a fucking bus.
Sorry, people.
You should be, man. You're losing us the war right now because you want to build a fucking bus when we need to build AT right this second.
In addition to his hatred towards battle buses and their respective players, Hans has unfortunately drawn the ire from veteran players due to his Hassan-level chair react streams. Basically, Hans will open up the live intelligence map and then decide it would be a good time to take a shit. During the chair react stream, the map is showing live intel and is left open during the entirety of his bathroom break. I've shared my personal feelings on intel leaking in a previous video, but I think this just boils down to laziness and a lack of forethought. I don't think Hans is doing this maliciously. I really do think that the piss in his bladder is flowing over and the poor dude just needs to get out of his chair ASAP. This next one really pains me to include, but it'd feel weird to purposely leave out such an impactful creator to Foxhole. Cronis Winter, the former leader of the former regiment WLL, was a fiercely respected logistics commander. Both factions appreciated the work he and the rest of the WLL players provided during the war. There are several players with the name Cronis in Foxhole, but if you see a chat mentioning that name plus Crash Out, then it's a safe bet they're talking about this specific Cronis. About a month ago in June of 2025, a schism occurred within WLL. Many of the officers would leave the regiment and form their own titled HVL, which was separate from Cronis. Shortly after their announcement, Cronis would nuke the WLL Discord and in-game regiment. And not only that, he would also remove or hide his previous streams on Twitch. And just like that, at a snap of a finger, Cronis himself vanished. Little is known why Cronis chose to destroy everything he created, and we may never get his side of events that took place in June, but regardless, his crash out would be one of the most shocking events felt by the Foxhole community. On a more serious note, I really do hope that he comes back to the game in the future, but until then, I hope he's doing well, and I wish nothing but the best for him. The final creator I'll be covering in this section is known for his TikTok content surrounding Foxhole. He's a pioneer, a founding father, if you will, for Foxhole TikTok videos. Considerate is a name known throughout Foxhole and almost universally hated between both factions. If there's one word that most players would use to describe Kane, it's probably troll. Considerate is a long-standing player to the game and extremely deadly on the battlefield. After noticing a gap in content for Foxhole, Kane himself generated numerous TikTok videos spreading the good word of the game and opening up a younger generation to the exciting world of Foxhole. Now, whether this is seen as a positive or negative is still debated in the Foxhole Discord, but Kane himself would be an expert at causing controversies within Foxhole. Whether it's malicious intel leaking, griefing, and just general world chat trolling, Considerate finds pleasure in being public enemy number one.
Good job, guys. You managed to do 1% damage. Good job, everybody.
I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
We repaired all the damage you've done.
This gives you power over me?
Oh my god, it's almost dead.
It's 11! Come on.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Somebody!
It's down. We fucking did it. It's down. I can still remember the first time I noticed Kane. It was almost 2 years ago when I was recording for a video and supplying logistics to a badly defended Westgate. The entire Hex suffered from poorly built defenses and insane server lag. Everyone in the Hex was desperately in need of logistics and builders. So as I'm driving towards the Longstone Seaport, I noticed chat is more active than usual. And the chat is filled with pissed off players telling another player to either shut the fuck up or help the front line. After scrolling through the sea of messages, I finally saw what caused it. It was a player named Considerate blaming Logi players for the Colonial losses, accusing them of not doing enough logistics and also not fighting on the front lines. The irony, bro. Yikes. Unfortunately, players in World Chat took the bait, which resulted in a bunch of butthurt players telling Kane to leave home region where he was typing all of this shit and help out on the front or stay quiet. Kane, deciding neither was a real option, elected to stay in the home region and continued to improve morale in World Chat. And that concludes the content creator controversy section. Next, we're going to dive even deeper with some shocking stories. Starting off with The Pile. The Gremlins actually were featured in a news article about this, which you can read yourself. The link to it is down in the description below. This was a battle over the island of Silver, where collies were completely cut off from logistics and had to fight with their pistols and fists. The defenders of the island had the idea of building several field hospitals in order to keep up a supply of Shards to spawn from. Soon, a religious cult would form where downed players would be dragged near the field hospitals and left there to bleed out, and hopefully turn into a critically wounded soldier. This spot would be named the Pile, and it's where players both Colonial and Warden would be doomed to die or be reborn. Our next story would take us to Drown Vale for the Battle of the Baths. The Battle of the Baths was an insane last stand for the Colonials after being completely encircled by the Wardens. It lasted almost 2 full days, and the Collies were actually able to break through the encirclement at one point, but were pushed back into the baths. There's several videos already out there on YouTube showcasing the battle itself, but it was so impactful that it even drew attention from outside content creators like Frederick Knudsen. Shortly after the war ended, he announced that the Battle of the Baths would be featured in an upcoming Down the Rabbit Hole video. Now, mind you, War 106 was over 2 years ago, but don't worry you guys, I'm sure that video is going to be coming out soon. The next story we have are Foxhole Civil Wars, and I'm kind of generic on this because there are just so many of them that occur pretty much every single war. All you new players to Foxhole are oftentimes shocked to hear the stories about their own faction fighting amongst themselves, but seriously, this happens almost every single war. It's almost unavoidable. And the cause is oftentimes the same. Some regiment has their base set up next to a resource node, and another regiment wants to do the same, at that same resource node. The end result, both sides duke it out and one ends up taking over the field. It's important to note though that taking over fields and making them private is a good way to get your base demolished by everyone in the hex. So in cases where that occurs, the resulting civil war is completely justified. But oftentimes, it's two regiments that want to just simply build on an oil field or comp field so that they can easily produce items in their facility. There's one such civil war that received a lot of attention, and that was between the Chinese regiment ACA and a Russian regiment that many believed was 404th, but it hasn't been confirmed. And it was dubbed the Russo-Chinese Civil War. It happened in the early War 100s and it was centered in the Red River Hex. Accusations of theft from one side led to a hostile response from the other, and both regiments were at war with each other for a short time. What made this so significant was the fact that both sides were long established and relatively large regiments for the colonial faction. Not to mention the fact that also both sides ended up taking out tanks during the fight, which is fucking crazy to see. But in this case, if both regiments decided to call it quits for the rest of the war, it would be a severe impact to colonial manpower. In the end, a short battle broke out with both sides fielding their own tanks, but after the Russian BT that was printing at their facility was targeted by ACA, negotiations took over and the fighting stopped. There was actually another civil war that I personally took part in, defending a Allies facility that was on a comp field, but that was between 404th and Spork. I can't remember what war that happened in, but the Spork regiment was a relatively smaller regiment on the colonial faction. I ended up getting a DM message from their leader when they started noticing more and more 404th players standing around their facility near a comp field. And if I remember correctly, I think they were set up near the comp field because they wanted to start making materials for large ships, and they just happened to be at this field first. The story goes, apparently 404th tried taking over another field, but that field was run by a much larger regiment that was also affiliated with Sigil, so if they were to show up and take over the field, that wouldn't end up well for them. So they decided to find a comp field with a regiment that was either smaller or not affiliated with Sigil in any way. Unfortunately, Spork was that regiment. At first, they started mass flagging everything and trying to Mammon Rush, but the Sporks called on their allies both from Boat and myself, the Gremlins, to show up and defend their facility. There were a couple ACs that were thrown into the mix. We ended up gunning down a lot of Russians because of it. There were accusations from the Russians that the Sporks were trying to claim the field in order to change public opinion. That was all a lie. It was always a public field. They wanted the region to be all against the Sporks, and in the end, the entire region ultimately was against the 404th. And with that, 404th was kicked off the field, and it left a shitty taste in everyone's mouths. Moral of the story, you guys, try and negotiate, don't go into civil wars, and if somebody's at a field before you, it's probably best to just leave it be. Next on our list, we have Works.
I'm here to enforce the rules of Works. Turbo has the claim of this field. 82DK is also in Works. They're here to enforce the legitimacy of Works and its bureaucracy. Alright? Every clan on the Warden faction falls in line with the bureaucracy of Works. Plain and simple. And if any clan falls out of fucking line, you are getting demoed. You are getting fucking pulled back. You're getting put in your seat. Alright, I don't know how else to say this.
So the background to this interaction is basically a Works rep yelling at other players for not following proper procedure. But for those confused, the Warden faction has a system called Works, which has a goal of eliminating resource conflicts that lead to civil wars, which is exactly what I was just talking about. Warden facility players would need to submit an application and are scored by a team of representatives based on previous successful facility builds. This is essentially government LARP. So in this video, Turbo already submitted an application and was granted permission to build on the field. The other regiments seen in the video, I guess, didn't, and H Ward's Stonewall gave them the business. The long and short of it, the Wardens created a system, and ultimately,
All of this just works.
this next story is insanely unique, and I'm also going to provide a link to it down in the description. It's honestly insane how many gaming news stories are made from Foxhole, but this one is just yet another example of how dedicated and sometimes crazy the player base is. Back in January of 2022, almost 2,000 Logi players from both factions formed the Logistics Organization for General Improvements. The purpose was to highlight the issues with the Logi system and Foxhole. Much of the system at the time was really cumbersome and lacked much needed quality of life improvements. During the strike, frontline players experienced a severe lack of supplies to the frontline, forcing many frontline focused players to do the unthinkable and drive Logi to the front themselves. After a 49-day strike where Logi players refused to play the game, Siege Camp would have a dialogue with members of the strike, leading to a positive conversation, and ultimately several changes were implemented with Update 48. This would be one of the only, if not few times, the community has come together to promote change in the game. Hopefully one day we can do the same with the Iron Ship. Next we have privates that are sacrificed per Navy ritual. I don't know much about this outside of, apparently if you're a private and you find yourself on a large Navy vessel like a battleship or a destroyer or something like that, you're probably going to get sacrificed to please Calypso. Anyway, moving along to the last story, we have the nuking of Atlantis. I can't really recall which war, but the Warden faction launched a nuke against the Collies, one of the most costly weapons in-game, both in terms of raw resources and time dedicated to building it. Unfortunately for the Wardens, the nuke ended up landing in the sea and didn't do any damage to anything. But never letting an opportunity to go to waste, the Warden propaganda machine worked tirelessly and claimed that the launch was indeed a success, with Atlantis completely destroyed and irradiated. So the next time you see some sort of reference to Atlantis in World Chat, just know it's in reference to the nuking of Atlantis. Legend also says that Atlantis is the hidden third faction within Foxhole. We'll just have to wait and see if they get added in an upcoming update. And that's it for the shocking stories. We are now at the last section of the iceberg, you guys, the banned and based section. We're gonna start off with a story, some lore that I guarantee almost none of you know about. I'm talking veterans, I'm talking about new players, and this is the Great Sarah debacle of Ashtown. Again, this is a war in the War 100s. Can't really remember which one. It might have been 101, maybe 102. But this was towards the end of a war. And the reason why this is important is because there was a guy in Ashtown who was mass producing Sarahs. And I'm not talking about at an MPF. He was going to a construction yard, taking BMATs from the refinery, taking BMATs from public stockpiles, and making Sarahs. He was just fucking pumping these guys out left and right. You couldn't park a car. You couldn't park a truck. You couldn't park anything anywhere near Ashtown because it was filled with Sarahs all around the refinery, all around the MPF, all around the facilities, in the fucking garage. Dude, it was everywhere. Sarahs were being pumped out almost on a daily basis by this guy. I think for at least 2 days, this guy was making Sarahs. And finally, I'm at the refinery and I start hearing commotion. I start hearing yelling in local chat. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I walk over to the construction yard and I see a small group of people, disgruntled players, yelling at this poor guy.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Who, you know, should he be making Sarahs at the end of the war? Is that a good use of BMATs? I'll leave that up for you to decide. But this guy was getting absolutely fucking lambasted by everyone around him, telling him he's a fucking idiot, telling him he needs to stop playing the game, all this stuff. I was like, it's like I'm watching a car crash in front of me. But then things take a turn, and I'm gonna give this guy some leeway because it feels like shit when you've got like 5 or 6 other guys yelling at you. So he starts yelling back at them. He starts saying some unsavory things, and then he storms off. And I decide to follow him. You know, I try to figure out what's going on, right? I'm trying to console him, maybe, you know, say, hey, dude, why don't you take a break? You look like you've been pumping out Sarahs for 2 days straight. I think you need a break, go touch some grass, right? So me and one of the other gremlins, we walk up to him at the outskirts of Ashtown, and he says to me, hey man, this is why people shoot up Walmarts, all right? This is why mass shootings happen. And I was shocked. I was like, this is not what you want to hear. So I told him, I'm like, hey man, I don't know if you mean that. I don't know if you're just frustrated. I can tell you're frustrated. So I'm gonna assume that that's where you're coming from right now. But you gotta just let it go, man. This is just a game at the end of the day. I'm gonna just tell you right now, not everyone's gonna agree with every decision you make, whether it's meta or not meta, but don't let people get underneath your skin and impact the way you want to play. I told him using BMATs on Sarah's, probably not the best idea. Early game makes a whole lot of sense. Go for it, bro. I personally would disagree with you doing that at the end, but hey man, don't let your emotions dictate your actions. Take a break, walk away, come back, log in tomorrow, keep making Sarah's. Fortunately, he never logged in again, and never seen him again either, unfortunately. But that was the great Sarah debacle of Ashtown. A lot of disappointing things that were said by both sides, but I think that was probably one of the craziest things that I'd ever seen happen in front of me. Moving along, though, we have another story, and it's centered around the famous Eel Soup, which, by the way, if you didn't know, that is apparently a real thing. Shout out to Beef Lord for telling me all about it. So sometime last year, I was creating a Foxhole podcast where I'd invite other content creators to come on, and we'll just talk and shoot the shit about Foxhole, talk about our YouTube journeys, all that shit. And I had, Robert Loves Games on, I had E-Man, Creepy Banana, and then towards the end, I had Beef Lord as well. Overall, these conversations were all great. They were fantastic. Great conversations with people who were either new to the game, super knowledgeable, but also it's always great to just pick the brains of other content creators. So one video that I personally had a great time with, I thought it was intellectually stimulating, but Beef Lord and we were talking about Eel Soup, and we were also talking about the Foxhole depths. And, a lot of this is banter, right? We don't really mean a whole lot of what we're talking about. Maybe there's a little bit of truth in some of the things we say. Generally speaking, I make a point to very clearly say what I'm feeling about things. But, it's all banter at the end of the day. If you want to check out the video itself, I'll link it in the description as well. It's titled, the Beef Lord Podcast or whatever, Eel Soup. And this one got me into some hot water. Now, I'm not going to say what exactly I said just yet. I'm going to save that until the end. But let me walk you through the order of how things took place. So one day, I'm waking up. I get a message in my Discord from Robert Loves Games, and he says, "Hey man, the Gremlin Gazette, it did it. It made it to the community highlights." And I was like, "Holy shit, that's crazy, dude. That's awesome." I can't remember if it was the one that I did with Rob. I can't remember if it's the one that I did with Beef Lord, or if it was just a generic one that they picked from the list. And I remember seeing it when I clicked on the link that Rob sent, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's awesome, guys!" Like, it's great to see that level of appreciation from the devs, and what an achievement. That's awesome. Literally 5 minutes later, one of the gremlins was messaging me and was saying, "Hey man, I don't see you listed in that community highlight anymore." I'm like, "What do you mean?" So literally 5 minutes later, I clicked the link and it's gone. It's not there anymore. The devs or whoever's in charge of the community highlights retroactively went back in and just took it off. And I don't know who I pissed off, man. And I don't know which video or whatever. Maybe it has nothing to do with the Eel Soup or the Gremlin Gazette. All I know is something was said that pissed them off. Maybe it was, during the Eel Soup video where we insinuate that maybe because every single, dev stream ends with one of the devs saying "Stay Foxy," like, maybe this guy's a furry or something, which we'll get into later on in another topic in this section. But yeah, I can't say, guys. It is still a mystery today why that whole thing happened the way it happened. But I was in the community highlights for a section, and those 5 minutes were great. But moving on to more interesting topics, have you guys heard of the Foxhole Rule 34 subreddit? Yep, this exists. I'm not going to show anything from it, but it exists, and don't go there. Next, moving on, we have Furries versus Femboys. So if you're new to Foxhole and you're watching this video, maybe you have no background whatsoever, you'll oftentimes hear how there are two factions in Foxholes, the Wardens and Colonials, the Green Man and Blue Man. And that is flat out not the case. Unfortunately, it is not that at all. I think it's a common misconception. Believe it or not, guys, it's actually the Furries versus the Femboys. Yes, that's right. Couldn't even tell you why. Couldn't even tell you why both of these communities seem to have their nails digged into Foxhole so much. Shit, dude. If I had to guess, guys, it's the artwork. It's the artwork on the subreddit. That's probably it. But in any case, guys, both exist in Foxhole. You even have regiments dedicated to furries and femboys. That's how it be. I don't know any other games that have both sides so ingrained in their lore, but yeah, that's something that you can expect. See a lot of oohs, you'll see a lot of RARs, RAR XDs even. And the last topic I want to mention here, and this is purely a based topic for this section, guys. It's the fact that the devs control the weather. All right, now bear with me for a second here, all right, because I don't think anybody doubts for a second that the devs really do control the weather. It's so crazy because this meme and this like long-standing belief honestly getting underneath the skin of the devs so much that they ended up implementing weather stations. And they say this, dude. They say that they even mentioned this fucking belief in the fucking dev stream when they first announced it.
But the main motivation behind this weather station was that we know there was a lot of feedback from players that they felt like the weather was turning against them with some intention, almost like some people thought. Getting into some crazy conspiracy theories, some people thought we were literally flying around controlling the weather to change the outcome of the war. And I'm here to tell you with definitive proof that that has never been the case. And this weather station, we're hoping will put that argument to rest.
And honestly, I still think that's the case, guys. I really do still think that's the case. I think they created the weather stations as a way to appease and try to take the wind out of the sails of some of these people who are like me, right? Like, they're just saying that the devs control the weather. But no, 100%, they definitely do, you guys. I mean, fucking prove me wrong. Where's the proof that they don't? But I think I'm going to end it there, you guys. This has been going, at least recording-wise, almost an hour now. And I'm trying to avoid this video being as long as it is. But hey, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you guys want to see more Foxhole Iceberg challenges, if you want them to be colonial-focused, warden-focused, dev-focused, femboy focused, furry focused, whatever it is, you guys, like, let me know down in the comment section. Again, make sure you to put down your own submissions for a Foxhole Iceberg as well. And you know, maybe I'll make another one of these if you guys like it a lot. Also, if you just enjoyed the video, if you like Foxhole content, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more Foxhole related content. Anyway, you guys take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Motorboat titties till I'm out of breath. I'm official, blowing shit like a ref. Good stroke, I be feeling like Steph. I'm in his crack, sniff it out like it's meth. His pants drop, time to get to this money. I pop. If you look at me funny, I suck cock, so my nose getting runny. I hop on that dick like a motherfucking bun. I'm the CEO of BBC Inc. I ain't fucking if the BBC stink. In the cold, watch the BBC shrink. I open wide for that BBC.